It's the holiday season. Welcome back to Retro Rebound. You're looking to make a splash somewhere, somehow, whether it be a gift for yourself or a loved one or a friend, or you're randomly stumbling upon this video and you're like, I need a gamer-focused gift. I've got you covered. Next to me is a massive stack of games, hardware, and even books that I want to recommend to you. Now, the focus of this video is really stuff that has come out either this year or last year, but also deeper cuts. The reason I want deeper cuts is because if you're looking for new trending stuff, all you have to do is click on a store page and it's likely already on sale. But I think the holiday season is a good time to catch up on your backlog. What games did I miss? What hardware should I try out? How should I upgrade my setup? And I want to make those sorts of recommendations. You'll get a better feel for things as I'm going along here, but we're going to go through the Switch, we're going to go through the Xbox, we're going to go through the PlayStation, and most of these games are multi-plat. It just happens to be the system I own it on. But let's kick things off because I got a lot to go over with you all with the Nintendo Switch. So first company I really want to shout out here, if you are a retro gamer and you're looking for retro spirited games, look no further than Enix. Here we have Azure Striker Gunvolt, the Striker Pack, which comes with Azure Striker Gunvolt 1 and 2. And then we also have the Blaster Master Trilogy, still sealed, but these games are very much old school inspired. And Enix does wear their inspiration on their sleeves. They're working on a game right now that's very much Mega Man Battle Network coded, and I can't wait for it. In particular, of this bunch, I do like Azure Striker Gunvolt more. It is from the original team that brought us Mega Man Zero, and that's one of the best 2D platformer side-scrollers I've personally played. It's also one of the most difficult ones, but definitely Azure Striker Gunvolt is much easier. If you're looking for a challenge in the later games, you'll definitely get that, but it's pretty smooth sailing. The music's awesome. The art is incredible. These originally started off as 3DS games and then jumped to Vita and then jumped to consoles, and now you can get all of them in one simple package. As for Blaster Master, I'm less familiar with it. I believe it started out in like NES or something like that, and it continues to get new entries to this day. But as you can see, their games are very anime-y, which is why I like them, because they're like random genres, but they also try to tell in-depth stories. They're really unique. So check them out if you're interested, again, in more old school spirited games. Digimon Survive, for my visual novel lovers. This is a really cool one where it's got a little bit of horror vibes. It's a much more mature take on the Digimon universe, and I love what this game does because I feel like it's something I want to see Pokemon do, but Digimon's really taken some risks with this one. So yeah, much more mature, like there's choices, consequence, there's death in this game. It gets a little creepy at times. And it's also a strategy RPG. I think the reviews were pretty harsh to this one. I really dig it. I don't know if I would recommend it here on Switch unless you're kind of boning up for the Switch 2, but otherwise I feel like, you know, getting it on a console where you're going to get better performance would be the better choice here. But I think Digimon Survive is consistently slept on, and you should really check it out. As well as, again, if you're kind of in that murder mystery visual novel vibe, check out Raincode here. This is the, I'm forgetting the name, Master Detective Archives Raincode. This is from the same team that brought you Danganronpa. I feel like they're a little bit of a one-hit wonder. Danganronpa is my favorite single visual novel series. I also love Zero Escape, but Danganronpa 1 through 3 is like peak fiction to me. So anything that this team makes, I hop right on. I will say Master Detective Archives gets close to that feeling Danganronpa gave me with its music. It's much more open world. It's focused on investigating murders. It has all those vibes, but the problem I had with Raincode in general is I couldn't draw a close connection with the murdered people I was investigating. Like in Danganronpa, people next to you who are close to you are dead, and it's a real game of whodunit. And it's still a game of whodunit in Raincode, but at least in the early going, you're not going to be super attached to anyone who dies. And it also follows some less favorable Danganronpa tropes, so it's not a great game, but if you're into Danganronpa and you missed that one, you might want to check it out. It's also available on PlayStation now. Because I saw this game didn't sell well, I want to shout it out again. We have the Steelbook here for, yes, Octopath Traveler 2, one of the best turn-based games of all time. They really amped up the storytelling in all departments. I don't think they got enough credit for it, where you have these characters actually talking with one another now, which the first game didn't really do at all. There's so many events, so many moments the stories do cross over, but the stories are way darker in this game. Shout out to Throne, like her ending is just super screwed up. But also the turn-based combat, the boost system, the class system, the subclass system, it's just unbelievable how deep this RPG goes, how excellent the storytelling is, how sublime the visuals are. Do not sleep on Octopath Traveler 2. And if you're wondering, well, Maddie, I haven't played Octopath 1. Look, you're okay. You can play the second one. You don't need any reference whatsoever. There's like one hidden boss that kind of references the first one. You're probably not going to care anyway, even if you're like me and put like 100 hours into the first game. Doesn't matter. So please check out Octopath Traveler 2 if you're into RPGs of really any kind. Next up, I want to shout out a series that is one of my favorites of all time, but I forget it's one of my favorites of all time because their games are so infrequent that sometimes it just escapes me, and that is Oddworld. We have Soulstorm here, which is the newest Oddworld game. This is a remake of Abe's Exodus, and a little fun fact, your boy is actually a voice actor in this game. It's the only game I've ever voiced in, but it's very fitting because here in the Oddworld collection for Nintendo Switch, you have Munch's Odyssey, New and Tasty, and Stranger's Wrath, and Munch's Odyssey was one of my first games I ever played, and it's one of my favorite games ever. But the Oddworld universe tackles some really tough themes. They have low-key, excellent stories, and in the case of in the Oddworld collection here, with something like Stranger's Wrath, which is a first/third-person hybrid shooter, it is an incredible story. Munch's Odyssey, to me, is just one of the most beautiful 3D platformers / puzzle-like games that you can play with a choice and consequence system mixed in, where as you are like making decisions in real time, like, do I want to send the fuzzles in? If the fuzzles go in and they die, my Quarma is going to go down. If I have low Quarma, I'm going to get a bad ending, and there's multiple endings in this game. Like, it is really good and different, and there's just nothing like Oddworld. So whether you're gonna pick up the newest one in Soulstorm, or I would really recommend starting with the collection, developing that love for this world, you cannot go wrong. I seriously think Oddworld is tremendously slept on. Adore it so much, and can't wait to see what Lauren Lanning and the team are cooking up next. Now we're on over to Xbox here. I feel like with Tekken 8 doing as well as it's doing, some people are sleeping on other good 3D fighters like Dead or Alive 6. Look, I really enjoyed this one when it came out. I have always been a Hitomi main since Dead or Alive 3, but the impact, the stage layout, the character roster, I know it's not a story-focused game, but I just love how fighting feels in Dead or Alive because it's very much intense and impactful, and Dead or Alive 6 is all of that. I thought Dead or Alive 5, I played that a lot online, was like really broken, but I thought Dead or Alive 6, at least when I played it, had a pretty good balance to it. So I really enjoyed DOA 6 and would recommend you check that one out. I would also recommend, if you're looking for a little seasoning of Marvel, maybe someone wants a Marvel gift or you want a Marvel gift for yourself, they got two good Marvel games to pick from here in Midnight Suns and Guardians of the Galaxy. I picked these both because they all sold horribly, and it's really undeserving, especially in the case of Guardians of the Galaxy, which is one of the best written games that you can play in the modern age. Like, a lot of people complain about how video games are written nowadays, and Guardians of the Galaxy is phenomenal in that department. It also plays a lot like a co-op game. Like, you have these mechanics where you can call in different members of the Guardians, even though you're just playing as Star-Lord, but it feels kind of like a co-op game. It's really good though, a really enjoyable time, but the banter between your party members, the storytelling, it's all way better than it has any right to be. Just a supremely overlooked game, and I know a lot of people have Marvel fatigue, but really you won't get it here. It's not written or approached like your typical Marvel products. It's got a lot of heart and soul to it. Please do not sleep on it any further, and you really shouldn't sleep on Marvel Midnight Suns. I am a Firaxis fan. I do like XCOM a lot. I'm not going to try to sell you on Midnight Suns being better than those games, but if you do like that sort of persona loop of like, I enjoy playing as these characters in dungeons, in fights, and then hanging out with them, and you're a big Marvel fan, Midnight Suns may be one you're sleeping on, because you do get to go back to this manor that gradually expands over time, and you hang out with these characters very casually, and like, it's comedic at times how absolutely jacked these characters are. Like, you can sit down by the pool and talk to Blade about his feelings. And for some people, they cringe and they're like, what the hell is this? And I do get that. But for me, I'm like, this is kind of awesome. The combat, I think, is deeply misunderstood. People see cards and immediately think, oh my God, it's going to have mobile game mechanics. It does not at all whatsoever. It is literally just a turn-based combat system. If you like turn-based combat and you like Marvel and you like hanging out with these heroes, it's not a perfect game. The maps can get repetitive, the missions can get repetitive. Sometimes it gets a little annoying how they try to spike the difficulty, etc., etc. The game does have problems, but underneath it all, I think is a really unique Marvel title that I think fans of like Marvel Ultimate Alliance would kind of appreciate. You know, it's kind of in that vein of like, I just get to see all these heroes at once and hang out with them in a different way. Again, not my favorite Marvel game, but I think about it a lot. And I think that intangible is saying something. Next up here is another stack, and then we're out of the Xbox category. I have a bunch of Souls-like suggestions for you, ones that are not your typical play a From Software video game. We have Lies of P, we have Steel Rising from Spiders, and we have Lords of the Fallen. So you can kind of pick your poison here. I'll break all of them down if you want to know Maddie's favorite of the pile. Quite frankly, I may have jumped the gun calling Baldur's Gate 3 my game of the year last year, because while it is the most Maddie coded game, I think about Lies of P every single day. I think this game really gets it. So if you love Bloodborne like I do, Bloodborne is my favorite FromSoft game. You're gonna get that here, the aggressive style combat, but then it'll mix in mechanics like parrying, which you'll find in a From Software game like Sekiro. So it's got kind of a jack of all trades and master of them too, because one thing Lies of P does that From Software, in my opinion, outside of Sekiro, has yet to do is tell a good story. But in the case of Lies of P, I think the story is brilliant. The themes, the characters' tone, and the way their lines are delivered, you will get into this story. And I will say this, do not let the ending get spoiled for you. Do not wait until the inevitable Lies of P sequel is announced and you go, wait, what? They're doing that? And you have it all ruined for you. You have a rare moment in gaming where you can sit down with a title that has the opportunity to, without trying to oversell it, but I just think it's the best comparable, BioShock you a little bit of like, oh, they're going there. Okay, like that kind of feeling is so rare, especially in today's spoiler-filled culture. Let the game take you on a ride. Enjoy the FromSoft style gameplay, where I really do feel like this team here, and Round 8, I really do feel like they stepped up to the plate and challenged From Software at their own game. They get everything down from map design to navigation to combat balancing. They manage to have all these mechanics FromSoft has and makes them feel good. The new Game Plus mode is awesome. The story is great. The world is wonderful. The only location I don't like in this game is honestly the final dungeon area, if you will. It's very bland compared to the rest of this game. However, you get to play as Pinocchio in this fully realized world, and it sounds hilarious at first, but it is brutal and disturbing and gory. It's really great. Please do not sleep on Lies of P. It's still available on Game Pass if you are interested. Steel Rising is a little bit reminiscent, funny enough, of like what you'd get in Lies of P, although it doesn't feel as good, it doesn't look as good, it's not as impressive. It's definitely, Spiders is a developer that falls in that category. Like if you enjoy BioWare games, you might like a game from Spiders called Greedfall. I love the first Greedfall because it feels like it's kind of trying to imitate and replace, even in some ways, that old BioWare formula. And they're actually, funny enough, doing that with Greedfall 2, where they're kind of making it like Dragon Age Origins, which I'm very interested in. So they try to kind of follow up with these very unique worlds and then fill in voids. And so they kind of tried their hand at a FromSoft style game in Steel Rising here, and they did so with like robots taking over the French Revolution. It's a really cool world, and if you can bite onto great world building, you'll get something here. Lords of the Fallen is my least favorite of the package. I mean, like it and Steel Rising are kind of neck and neck, but I find Steel Rising's world a little bit more captivating. Lords of the Fallen does have an interesting game mechanic. Basically, there's two realms. There's the realm of the living, the realm of the dead, and like depending on if you're alive or dead, you can kind of traverse these. And so it does evolve the From Software formula in an interesting way. The game sold really well, and a lot of people liked it, even though the reviews seemed kind of mixed on it. I wasn't super in love with it, especially because I felt the game didn't feel quite great in combat. But if you have someone who's like a Dark Souls junkie, they might really dig this one. So check out any of those From Software competitors. They're all pretty great picks in their own way. It's just kind of like picking your own flavor. Before we get into PlayStation 4 and 5 games, I actually want to make some quick hardware suggestions for you. Both are in the same pocket. You have here the Logitech G Cloud gaming handheld, and behind that, you have here the PlayStation Portal, which somehow has dust on it. I was just using this. I guess I didn't notice that. But anyway, both these handhelds are really underrated. What I sell them to you as is luxury companion devices. I am not trying to tell you to go out and spend the big bucks on this, even on sale, because I imagine they'll still be expensive. Like the Portal at launch was $200. The Logitech G Cloud was close to like $350. These are pricey products here. The Logitech G Cloud works for me because of an amazing battery life. Like I'm talking amazing. And I know it's a streaming device, but this thing you will not need to charge for like months in my experience. And you can play and stream games from your PC to your handheld. You can stream it from your Xbox to your handheld. You can stream it from your PlayStation to your handheld. It's really good. Meanwhile, if you are just like a PlayStation owner, the luxury companion device known as the PlayStation Portal will be great for you. They just added in native streaming so that you can just straight up fire up games on your Portal without ever having to have your console on, which originally you had to be tethered to in some way. So this system just got a huge upgrade recently, and PlayStation continues to invest in it. If you just kind of like the idea of, hey, like the wife or the girlfriend or your friend or whoever it may be, someone fired up the TV, they want to watch a show, you want to keep playing your game, the PS Portal or the Logitech G Cloud can be your answer to that. Or if you're like me and you like to play games in bed, I will sometimes go upstairs in my house, stream from these consoles down here, and I will turn off my system from the Portal or from the Logitech G Cloud and then go straight to bed with the system next to me. And I just get to play like an extra hour of games in bed before I really tap out. Like, it's good for that sort of thing. If you're looking to squeeze in some extra hours, handheld gaming can change that. If you're struggling to game, handheld gaming can change that. Trust me, I've heard so many stories of people saying like, I'm struggling to find time to game, or I'm just not putting the hours in that I used to. Try to see if you can, if you have the money, pick up one of these handheld devices as sort of a companion to your console, treat it as such, and you'll get more content done in games. Trust me. All right, we're on to PlayStation now, and then I got books for you. I have an anime game recommendation that I think is criminally slept on as well, and that's Captain Tsubasa: Rise of the New Champions. It is a over-the-top anime soccer game. And as someone who has made many a Retro Rebound review talking about how anime games are all the same, Captain Tsubasa: Rise of the New Champions, I think, is a game that you should try out if you can get into sports and anime. I don't know if I would suggest, if you have someone who's into like FIFA and just strictly sports games, buying this for them. I don't think it's for that. It's for your anime fan looking for a different flavor of anime games like yours truly. So what you get here is like a career mode, a story mode, like a deep story mode, might I add, with like cutscenes and everything. The production value for your shots when you do like a power shot are incredible. You can create your own character in this game and be part of a separate story. Like, it's really good. There's online, I think there's online co-op if I remember correctly. Like, this game is very feature complete, very competitive for what it tries to be, and in some ways like plays ridiculously good. Definitely way better than like a Mario Strikers, like the recent one on Switch, which was not good at all. Plays way better than that. And I think it can kind of at times give FIFA a run for its money if you can get with the arcadey gameplay. I grew up with arcadey sports games, you know, your Slugfest, your NHL Hits, FIFA, NFL Street, that sort of stuff. Captain Tsubasa reminds me a little bit of that, but with that anime flair. So I recommend checking it out. This is just my opportunity as well to just force some game suggestions your way. Like this one here, Dishonored 2, baby. Dishonored 2 is like the best stealth game I have ever played. The level design, the character choices you make at the beginning of the game, who do you want to play as, and how that impacts the story. Like Dishonored 2 by default has 4 endings. So you have like a good ending, right, for both these characters in Corvo and Emily, and then you also have like a high chaos ending in Corvo and Emily, and this is determined on how you play the game. So are you gonna go around and kill everyone? Are you gonna choke them out? Are you gonna get detected a lot? And the real factor in this game that made me love it so much is the level design is unparalleled. It is unbelievable. Some of these locations they crafted, like I can't even imagine what these people communicate to each other to say like, let's do this, like let's make a manor that's constantly rotating and shifting. The level of complexity in these environments is stunning. Their openness is stunning. And look, I know at first this game got bogged down because of performance issues, but those are such a thing in the past. If you are looking for a great stealth game with high replayability, and if you are invested in the Dishonored story, which is really good, go through Dishonored 1. It's like a 9-hour game when I last played it last year. I played after Redfall, where that game traumatized me. Dishonored 2 is longer. It can push up to 20 hours, but it is 20 of the best hours you can spend in a stealth game. It's in the same pocket as Prey, in my opinion, like that highly immersive first-person game with great traversal, great power sets, different endings. Like, it's got everything, man. It's really good. So do not miss it. I also don't want you to miss another JRPG here from Square Enix, and we're about to make a lot of Square Enix JRPG suggestions, but I want to show you Neo: The World Ends With You. The sequel that you just can't believe exists. This game sold horribly. For reference, and now Trails is much more popular, but at the time, ladies and gentlemen, when it came out, Trails was not as popular, and Trails, outsold Neo The World Ends With You considerably. So there is a likely chance you have missed this. The World Ends With You is one of Square Enix's most underrated franchises, where you had Tetsuya Nomura character design, you had really ragey, angsty teen sort of energy from the early 2000s combined with a soundtrack with like pins that define the powers that you can use. And in the case of the Nintendo DS, it got really interactive. Like you would blow into the speaker and you'd be able to use like wind-based powers. Like it could get that gimmicky and interactive. If you're interested in the first World Ends With You, it is available on Switch. Best way you can play it is on DS. Like if you can swing that, you should. Like it is a big difference. But Neo The World Ends With You is more of an action RPG with ridiculously awesome action combat. Some of the music is incredible. It doesn't have a lot of fully produced cutscenes because the game was admittedly made on a tight budget, but some of the cutscenes they do produce, particularly in the end game, and especially if you were on that ride for Neo The World Ends With You from the beginning, is insane. This is a game full of heart, and we probably will never see another World Ends With You game ever again. I commend Square Enix for letting this game happen at all. It is truly a passion project. There's nothing quite like it. Getting to explore Tokyo during the Reapers game where you've died, and can you come back to life if you win the Reapers game? Like it's a very fascinating concept. And as you're exploring Tokyo, you're gonna like eat food and level up and stuff. It's really cool. I mean, I love The World Ends With You. I wish Neo The World Ends With You did better. Unfortunately, it did not. But what did do really well, we just learned it sold 30 million copies. I got one right here for you. Cyberpunk 2077. This is the Steelbook, but I want to shout out the Ultimate Edition. You get, of course, all the patches plus Phantom Liberty. It is an incredible package, especially because the game is dramatically transformed if you play it from the start, where Phantom Liberty does pop up in the middle of your playthrough. There's like new endings now. Basically, before they even got to Phantom Liberty, Cyberpunk 2077, the way build crafting worked, the way that its perk system worked, the way that its entire gear system worked, had been completely overhauled by that point in the game's life cycle. So if you already played Cyberpunk like I did at launch, and then you have not played it since, and you've been kind of waiting on Phantom Liberty, I am not exaggerating when I say a literally totally different game awaits you now. From everything to missing features now being there, like the police system, they have vehicle combat in there. They've completely overhauled how open world activities funnel into one another, where when you complete all the fixer gigs inside a region, you get a final reward in a final mission in that region. So there's new overall text messages, and there's new overhauled cutscenes, and just so much here. Plus there is that ARG that was ongoing that clearly teases a Cyberpunk sequel. What's going on there? I don't know. They tied in Edge Runners content. That anime is phenomenal. So there is a lot here in Cyberpunk that you may have missed. And if you have, you are sleeping on what I thought was last generation, one of the best RPGs you could play. Nowadays, with how things are with the RPG genre, it still is one of the best RPGs that you can play and even replay. So shout out to Cyberpunk. This is a really random one, but I wanted to throw it out there before we get into just PS5 games I have in this pile. And that's Assassin's Creed Syndicate. It just got a next-gen update. I was waxing poetic about Assassin's Creed Syndicate in our big Assassin's Creed retrospective. I just thought it was really cool that it got 4K 60 frames on PS5, on Xbox, wherever you buy it. You're gonna get that 60 frames. I do think Syndicate and how it evolved Unity's mechanics is sometimes forgotten, or at least I'm speaking for myself there. I forgot that Unity wasn't just this one and done thing, but that they did go on and make Syndicate, where this world is vast and expansive, and there's so many things you can do. And while the combat is kind of similar, despite them selling it as an overhaul, you still get to do gang wars. You get to fight in World War I in a completely separate mini campaign within the game. You get to go on a train, which is a moving hub around the world itself in real time. It's just a really cool game, and it has the Jack the Ripper DLC. Again, I think it's a game that many of us were like, I didn't like Syndicate much. Remember, this came out at the peak of Assassin's Creed fatigue. Not so much anymore, right? In fact, with where Ubisoft's at now, I think people are yearning for those older days. This is a good time to pick this one up, dirt cheap, go back, try it out. Okay, now on to PS5. First one is Unicorn Overlord. This one is from Vanillaware, developers of games like Odin Sphere Lift Fraser. You could also find them with games like Dragon's Crown, which I loved Dragon's Crown. This is a game that had one of the longest demos you could experience. So if you're really unsure about your purchasing and you see this and you go, oh, I do want to try that. The demo was like 10 hours long, and this game was in development for over 10 years. It is a true passion project. And while I have played admittedly very little of this, I literally bought it just to support this team because I love Vanillaware games, and I can totally respect putting that much time and energy and effort into a game and finally getting it out the door. But this is a tactical RPG. You're going to traverse a beautiful, open, expansive world. Of course, it's going to be beautiful. This is a Vanillaware game. Their artists absolutely cook. There's so many characters that you can forge relationships with, and you can battle other people, and the story apparently gets more and more intense, more and more heartfelt. So I just wanted to throw that out there, as even though I have not played a ton of this game, that it could be one you've missed out on. And again, that's the main goal of this video, is like, hey, you missed this, check it out. One thing I did check out last year during the holidays and I really enjoyed was Temtem. If you're looking for a co-op game, this is a great pick. If you like Pokemon games, this is a great pick. They have great 2v2 options available. So I was running through the campaign with a friend and we had an absolute blast together. So for my Pokemon fans out there, I just want to put that out there as one. It's very MMO-like. It's definitely got all the Pokemon tips and tricks there, but many people think it's better than Pokemon. For me, it didn't have the sustaining charm, but it was a good time. I also want to shout out this one because it was new and got re-released. Final Fantasy 1 through 6 collection. If you've not played these games, I still have yet to play some like 2 through 5, but Final Fantasy 6 especially is just worth the price of admission alone. You can buy these digitally a la carte if that is more interesting to you, so keep that in mind. But Final Fantasy 4 is also apparently fantastic. But this is a great way to play these older games, because if you're seeing this and you're like, I don't know, Maddie, I'm not really interested in that sort of thing. These games are too old, too difficult. You can change the XP amount that you get. You can change the amount of gil you get. You can turn off battle encounters in some cases. So yeah, this game, if you are just looking for an easy breezy way to go through Final Fantasy, this is a clear-cut way to do so. Last year, Square Enix went through an interesting phase, and a phase that we will not see for many years, potentially again. And that is a wave of kind of AA, mid-tier JRPG projects. Since a lot of these flopped for Square Enix, they have since gone out and said they are focusing on bigger budget projects. So I think these are games that are going to be sought after as time goes on. And those games are the Diofield Chronicle, Star Ocean, The Divine Force, and Valkyrie Elysium. All these games have rated in that 7 to 8 range, but if you're looking for like an action RPG, Valkyrie Elysium has you covered. Same thing with Star Ocean, Divine Force. This dude definitely has cloud energy. And then Diofield Chronicle is a strategy RPG that a lot of people really did enjoy and thought it was a hidden gem, but all these do fit that hidden gem category. Out of these all, I enjoyed Valkyrie Elysium the most. I really just liked its combat, so I feel like you can kind of get into that. But again, Square Enix is still producing those smaller random games, and maybe for a couple more years as certain projects just taper off, they'll have a few more of these. But I feel like this style of JRPG is going away as Square Enix is putting, I mean, you look at the production value for Final Fantasy 16, it's like a whole complete difference over there, right? So I look at these types of games and I'm like, I don't know if Square Enix is going to be doing them anytime soon. So I just wanted to shout those out as well. Got 2 more here in the pile, then we'll do some quick book/comic recs, and then we'll be out of here. We have here Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. This came out around August last year. If you are a Jet Set Radio fan, I'm telling you, buy this sight unseen. Like literally, just trust me, bro, pick it up, and that'll be it. It evolves the Jet Set Radio gameplay with proper controls. It still has that art style, still has that same music that you know and love from Jet Set Radio. At the same time, one thing you will not expect from this game that it manages to do is tell a really good story. It's really, really good. Like, do not skip out on this one. If you love Jet Set Radio, don't wait for the Jet Set Radio remake or reboot or whatever Sega's doing. Play Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. It's really good and it's cheap and it's available physically. As you see, it's sealed here. I also have it sealed on Xbox. I have it on my Switch. This is an incredible video game. You can please check it out anywhere. Really, really good stuff. And then the last game suggestion for my Vampire fans out there, I've got Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden. Apparently for many, not as good, but I adore Vampire. It's one of my favorite RPGs of the last generation. Just the choice and consequence and the way the factions and the world state will change based on those choices is so much fun. And Banishers Ghost of New Eden carry some of those ideas forward with better combat. Again, I don't love it as much as I love Vampire, but I still think it's really cool that a game like this exists, and I wanted to just give it some love here in this video as one that maybe my fellow Vampire fans out there could enjoy. Okay, some quick book recommendations for you. First one is an art book, which I'm going to bring in sideways here. It's the Mega Man Battle Network official complete works, and you'll see here, cracking it on open. I adore the Mega Man, Battle Network, and Star Force art. I mean, you can see it all right here. This is just, it just lights my fire. So if you want to learn more about these games, Battle Network and Star Force and a couple of other games do have this sort of like official complete works that you can get into and learn more about the development process, the art, that sort of thing, if that lights your fire. My favorite comic book ever next to the X-23 Complete Collection is this one right here, TMNT, The Last Ronin. Here's how I'll sell it on you. One turtle lives, you don't know who it is, and they are out on revenge. It is bloody, it is gory, it is a sad story. And if you have long-term investment in the turtles, you probably already read this. But if you have yet to, if you are yearning for, if you're like me, you're a Ninja Turtle purist, and you look at some of the recent designs in Ninja Turtles, and you're like, where is the mature Ninja Turtles? Go check out The Last Ronin. It will save your soul. Last one I want to suggest, there's this upcoming game called Exodus, and they are doing like spin-off series and books already. And they have one that's written by Peter F. Hamilton, who's a really popular sci-fi author, and it's called the, hold on, sideways, Archimedes Engine. And it is within the Exodus universe, and as you can see, thick book, like 900 pages long. And so I have yet to start this because I'm reading a couple of other gaming-focused books. Ask Iwata is one of them I'm reading right now. Really great book. But I've been trying to get invested in this world of Exodus, and the reviews for it are fantastic. So I just want to put this on your radar if you're looking to get into something early on. I've heard, again, really good things about this book, but those are my quick literary suggestions. Ladies and gentlemen, those are all of my suggestions in general when it comes to 2024, from books to games to a little bit of hardware. I feel like I got you covered on every front. So let me know what you think down below. What should I pick up? What should others pick up? Is there anything here that I showed you that you are planning to pick up? I would love to hear from you all, so please do fire away. Other than that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.